I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and today is the last segment of today's Carcassonne Marathon, the last match of round 1 of the International Qualifiers for the Carcassonne Champions League 2026. The match that we're about to watch are between two well-known experts, Tom Smedt from Belgium with the screen name Nicedicer, and Petro Antunes, who has been featured on this channel very recently several times, with the screen name Phoam. That's the Portuguese player. Here you can see the list out of all the 16 players who are in the third international qualifying tournament. This tournament is for the winners of different international competitions over the course of 2025. So the reason why Tom Nicedicer is here is because Belgium finished top 3 in the European Team Carcassonne Online Championship, a historic high for them. And Portugal here is actually a rather interesting reason. You see you have fans' choice over here, and basically it's like a bit of a promotional event, how do I say this, where 2 spots, one here and one here, get 2 communities who can gather the largest fan support. In this case, these were Argentina and Portugal. Quite an interesting system there. Of course, the vast majority won actual tournaments, and how do I say this, even those who... Actually, you know what? I'm not going to finish the sentence. You get what I mean. It's just an interesting quirk of the championship. Let's just jump and look at the players here. So Pedro, I've covered him already several times. Highest rating in the mid-600s. Currently at a very solid 628, 2,000 games of experience, despite only starting to play in 2023. So less than 2 years of experience overall. Nicedicer, Tom here has over 7,000 games of experience. Currently in the low 500s range, so that's an expert rating, but overall I have to say that Tom's peak ratings, of course, is much higher. It is in the 600s. I have played a few casual games with him. He seems to be like a tough cookie, so the outcome of today's match, I think it's 50-50. If anything, Phoam's appeared to be in quite a strong shape right now. He has started more aggressive scoring moves in the opening, which is like the main idea how you improve your game at this level. And maybe, I don't know, 52% favorite for Phoam. It's my bet in this match. Overall, your guess is as good as mine. The usual best of 3, the usual double elimination system. Whoever wins advances to the quarterfinals. Whoever loses gets relegated to the loser's bracket. So it is Tom who is going to be the starting player over here. Both players have 6 points on the scoreboard, and I assume for different reasons. One of the players scored 4 points for the city and 2 points for this road. The other player took this big 6-point loop. Overall, Red is in a good position over here as a result of this 6-point monastery and being the starting player, which is going to give him an advantage in the end game. Yes, Green, that is the Portuguese player, is threatening some interesting things over here with the city, but it will be quite easy to counter if Tom just goes over here and equalizes that city. Pedro has this 2-point road over here with a green meeple. It could turn into another loop like this, making this here interesting bow tie configuration, or for some reason, it reminds me of, how would you call this? The P cloud for electrons, if you get what I mean. Those of you who are into particle physics will know what I mean. Anyway, but until that happens, oh, that's interesting. Until that happens, of course, Red will have the advantage, and Nicedicer chose himself a high variance approach, which is rather interesting. I'm not a fan of this in this position, because if you just equalize the city, your position is great. You're still the starting player, and this monastery is way better than Green's Road. Now, Red is going for the jackpot. The plan of red is to finish the city and then block this square, but I don't know the exact probabilities, but this plan, more often than not, just does not work. It just doesn't. I mean, it works maybe like 20% of the time or something like this, and it is truly devastating when it does, but what if green gets this connection tile over here? And what if green finishes the city? Then green is going to suddenly have the advantage. But the higher the variance, the more interesting the content, so I don't get to complain of all people. In the meantime, Phoam is building up his city on the right. And already has himself some extra points. Yeah. Tom is making that type of move, which doesn't work, unfortunately. So first of all, if you're gonna go for this plan, if you're not gonna invade over here, then you gotta be a little bit more patient. You gotta wait until you finish the city before you get yourself this blocking platform. In any case, this has not worked for now, as it only resulted into some city points. Some city points for Phoam. And now Nicedicer managed to get this insurance road, which is very nice for them. And they are about to block the square, but now Pedro can really take the advantage in this game by simply going over here and protecting this square. And then he's going to have 3 tiles that fit here, plus 2 more tiles which he can use to finish this here big city. And if in the likely event he doesn't draw any more road Doritos that fit into the square, it's not that bad for him, because he's not going to have an extra meeple trapped. This is 1 meeple trapped for red, 1 meeple trapped for green. So this is a situation where either green is okay or green is doing fantastically, and it looks one of those situations where green is doing fantastically. Amazing setup, and that's why this idea here by Nicedicer, I told you from the start, it almost, well, it's more often than not does not work. This is not to say it isn't entertaining, it very much is. So fortunately for red, red managed to avoid getting his own meeple blocked. Green in the meantime is building up little cities at the top. So many cities that I even have to start zooming out the map. And not great tiles for red, although with the Phoam just keeps scoring points. Does not care about getting this meeple back. He wants to create an attacking platform against this here city, but it doesn't work. As Nicedicer gets himself a city back, and he gets himself the farmer, which is a good idea, because eventually this farm could turn into huge. He could go here, he could then go here, and then make this here guy expand all the way to these here castles, and then over here through this completed cities to unify everything and everything. 4 quick points for Nicedicer, and we can see how much this farm has developed. He's now going to drop yet another one. I love this idea very much. And the idea, of course, is to just drop a lot of compensation farmers to make sure that whenever this city gets completed, red ends up taking over this here field. Oh, look, some lovely spatial vision here by Nicedicer, going for this here 8-point city right now, expanding his side of the field indirectly. And Phoam now has some serious problems. Yeah, he tries, of course, to develop his city at the bottom, which I absolutely love. Tom now setting up a ticking time bomb in the shape of 4 monasteries over here. Yeah, the scoring onslaught continues. Red has a very good position right now, despite being down on the scoreboard and despite, in all likelihood, losing that big city. So let's see where this brings us. Hi Crafty, hi Diogo, hi João. All right, perfect. We can see both fans of Tom and of Pedro here. Anyway, so Tom finishes an important road for 5 points, and the 5 points don't matter as much as a meeple back in Green's hand. Green has equalized the farm, and now it is kind of tricky for Red to play this. So my first thought is with this here tile, do we actually go here and do we complete the monastery? On one hand, I want to answer no, because when you make setups like this, you explicitly wait for a monastery so that you can, well, meeple the monastery when you complete it. On the other hand, we only have one meeple, and it would be nice to just have more in hand so that we can drop more for this huge field battle. Maybe we get a meeple back, then maybe we use one over here and try to overrun the field. And then when all fields unite, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on our farm. And that could be enough to withstand the pressure from the city. But Nicedicer has a different idea. And also like this plan, he's going to try to block this here little farmer with 9 points. And then he waits for the monastery so that he can meeple it. With 3 meeples, it is more than enough meeples to drop one for a monastery, even if it doesn't come back. And this position is playable. Again, despite losing this here big city, Red currently has more field control. He can allow this here guy to keep his little field, and then he can have a bigger field to himself. Oh, but that's a great move for Phoam. That's a fantastic move for Phoam. Look at this. So he starts a new monastery because he has the meeples to do that, and he does so in his field. And he also makes sure that this here platform where Red could have dropped a farmer is now no longer available. And Red is going to need to start dropping farmers elsewhere. So first of all, why does Red need to drop farmers? Because Red has the field control over here. Well, this secondary 9-point field is going to be eventually a 12-point field after the city finishes. And I don't think we want that if we're Red. So we want to get in on that. Red now chooses a different approach. Red basically wants to unify all fields. And so he anticipates something going in this square. And he wants to drop a farmer here, whilst also, on one hand, expanding, on the other hand, obstructing the city of Green. Green now starts a new city of his own and also tries to break that square unsuccessfully, as of course a curve is going to come down right in this area. One of the 2 last curves in the deck, actually. There's only one more after this. After a few seconds, Red does place the curve in that square. And Red has a super majority on this field, which actually changes the plans for both sides. Now, I think the way Phoam wins this, now Phoam, who initially wanted to connect to the farm, he wants to isolate his little farmer so that his little 12-point farm, which is currently a 9-point farm, but it will become a 12-point farm when this here city is completed, so that eventually he ends up winning a little farm. And Nicedicer says no. Now that he has an extra farmer, he wants to connect and create a big field fight, forcing Green to find a way to equalize the farm. Now the scoreboard difference is negligible. It's only 9 points. The farm is absolutely gigantic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 completed cities already. A 10th one is coming, and I just don't see how Green could possibly outscore the farm through other means. Maybe if Green can finish this here city, which is unlikely, but let's say if he can do that. Okay, so this is like 12-ish, 14-ish, right? We have 9 on the scoreboard. That's still 21, 25. We're running a few points short of the farm. So if I'm Green, I'm probably dropping a farmer right now. I'm going to use the one remaining platform over here in this area and try to connect like this. The issue with that, it is kind of blockable, and I have the last curve in hand. But, you know, there's some straight lines available. I might as well, right? Nicedicer finishes the city, and now he has this alternative win conditions in mind. He's down only 1 point on the scoreboard. He has 2 extra meeples, and look at Pedro now wanting to not just equalize, but also win the field outright, and it works. It's a wonderful idea because there's still 2 regular monasteries available for him. Well, will you look at that? Yeah, so now Nicedicer suddenly needs to find another way to drop a farmer and also to outscore his opponent, which is going to be harder to do as Green gets a meeple back and also completes his own bad tile for phoam. He can neither connect to the farm, nor can he defend the field's connection. He cannot go through the outside either. Tricky, tricky, tricky. What do we do here? He goes for the compensation scoring idea, which is very interesting. It now changes the plans for phoam entirely. Basically, his idea now is to kiss goodbye to this farmer and whatever. And then he wants to just equalize the field from here. But now that he has no more farmers to drop, Nicedicer can just do stuff like this, right? And he can connect through his opponent's city. And you know what Nicedicer can do? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 1 Dorito still remaining, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, we can just go here. And we can connect this guy to the field, and then we just win. I think this is what we do. However, I do like that Tom is using his time to calculate things. 6 minutes on the clock is great pacing for 5 tiles remaining in the deck, which means 6 tiles unseen to Nicedicer. Now, what does he need to know? He needs to know that there are no curves remaining. It's actually quite easy. So no curves, 2 monasteries is what remaining. 1 regular Dorito, which could fit into the square. No vanilla city cabs that fit over there. And now some road tiles. Okay, so 1 of those, which phoam just drew. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, then there are these guys as well. So there's a straight line, 1 of those. These were the remaining tiles. Now this and this was drawn, and the remaining tiles are 2 monasteries, a straight line, and a road Dorito. So basically Nicedicer just trying to rely on his 5 and 6 chance to win the game. So phoam gets himself the Dorito tile. Nicedicer get the monastery. Uh-oh! He will need... Wait, does he win regardless? I think not. I think he doesn't need the field in order to win. Oh, it's going to be so close. So... Of course, the play here, ooh, but it's so tricky. The best move for red, the high scoring sequence, is to actually go for this here 4-point monastery and no other place. If we get the Dorito, then we connect to the field and then we win with the field majority. For 4 versus 3, 30 points, lovely. But if our opponent gets the Dorito, they're going to go over here for 1 point, leaving us a 5-point monastery spot. So Nicedicer just ends up drawing the Dorito and winning the big farm. And phoam's gonna have himself a loss. Despite courageous field battles, despite being able to complete a large city, Tom's excellent field play compensates some of the city extravaganza from early on. And it is 1 Belgium, 0 Portugal. 22 points is the advantage, which also makes me want to calculate things. So let's say if Nicedicer goes here, which is a similar move, then on his next move he goes over here and he scores 5 more points. His opponent scores 1 more, but 2 less because of this. So he scores 6 more, but he scores 30 less. Wait. Раз, два, три, четыре, пять, шесть, семь, восемь, девять, десять. Yeah, so there are 10 cities on the field, so it's a... wait. Раз, два, три, четыре, пять, шесть, семь, восемь, девять, десять. Yeah, so there's a 10 point... okay, so there are 10 points, 10 cities on the field, so the field was 30. Which means that this here connection was a 28 point move, because to connect to the farm, we had to donate 2 points to our opponent. If Nicedicer goes over here, he gets 4 extra, and this here tile doesn't make a difference, right? No, he gets 5 extra because he gets to prolong his other monastery. So what would have been the outcome here? Let me just figure this out. I know that some of you already have. 28, 23. Oh! Isn't that interesting? Nicedicer, I think, would have lost by 1 point. I'm not wrong, right? So 22 is his advantage. He would have gotten himself 28 fewer because he would not have been able to connect to the field. And he would have gotten himself 5 points more for this monastery, basically. So he would have gotten himself 23 fewer points. Anyway, so this finish would have been actually very dramatic, except that it wasn't as dramatic as we had hoped. But anyway, decided by the last tile, of course. So now the Belgian is going to take the lead. But it is the Portuguese player who now is playing the red meeples. The players have switched colors. Nicedicer with green, phoam already with 4 points already on the scoreboard. And a 3-point road next to his opponent's city. And the first monastery of the game goes to phoam. Very good position for red here. And the first mistake of the game for Nicedicer, basically, it's a very, very standard situation. It's one which I think most players like 500 and above typically know. So what do you do if you get a cow tile next to your opponent's city and you try to do like this? You have 2 options. Either you meeple it or you don't. And it depends on the stage of the game and the number of meeples. And basically, in the opening, you meeple this, and in the middle game and end game, you typically don't. And that's why phoam ends up just having himself a free city segment. So a little imprecision here from Nicedicer. Let's see if it cost him much or not. Phoam now has a 9-point field here. Really lots of aggression on this road scoring, which surprises me, but it's fun to watch. And actually, I think it's a good move, because then there's some scenarios how we go here, here, here. There's a crossroads like this, a curve like this, and then the field just blows up out of proportion. Tom decides to drop a farmer very soon. I actually quite like that idea because it also obstructs the monastery. Phoam now is quite close to completing his city. And the player with the green meeples is experiencing some problems. However, this here restriction will be nice. There are only 2 tiles remaining that fit into this square. And phoam does not get a defense tile, and actually he does not have any productive moves at all. Ideally, you want to go over here and stack the monasteries, but you can't. But you can't because of this here square, right? So this is why these partial blocks are so important. It's not that it threatens the life of this red meeple. It's more so that it just messes up the development of this monastery. Also, I'm a bit surprised to see this here move from Nicedicer. Again, it's a bit too ambitious. He had a chance to block this here city permanently. Instead, he chose to go for the Sophie's Choice block, basically committing 2 of his opponent's meeple towards the starting tile. But then this helped Petro to save his city, and now Nicedicer is in trouble again. Because I know that it's like super tempting to try and block 2 meeples of your opponent, and he succeeded in blocking one of those meeples. But this meeple was the most important one. Even though there are only 2 tiles that fit into the square, it still translates to a 75% chance of completing it. Most importantly, it comes with a lot of points, because not only is Red going to get himself a 12-point city, he's also going to get himself a 6-point road and a meeple back. 18 and a meeple back is really a lot. And this setup is a ticking time bomb. So I think if you're Nicedicer, you actually have to go here and start thinking about the compensation road as soon as you can. But I can understand why he chooses not to do that. Instead, he goes for the farmer, tries to pressure through this here square. Phoam finishes the city at the top, and he does not drop a farmer. And I really, really like this idea. It's a counterintuitive idea here by Petro, because ideally it's very normal to just keep equalizing your opponent's farmers, but he's counting on something. Instead of equalizing this here farmer, what he can do, he can just like block his own road. Like, he can go here, for example, now. And if he does this, he can block his own meeple for 3 points. Yes, exactly, exactly. So I was saying, he can block his meeple for 3 points, and then Nicedicer's farmer is also going to be blocked. Or this can happen, the connection happens, in which case his road is much, much, much healthier. So a subtle decision, one which totally pays off for Red, at least for now. But unfortunately for Red, Green is the one who gets himself the first starting tile, and Green tries to build up his semi-broken city, possibly hoping for a splitter tile to turn it into this little Pac-Man. Finally, Green gets himself the second farmer into the field, the 12-point field, so eventually Red is going to need to equalize. A good tile for Red, meaning that Green cannot do the separation. If Green wants to finish the city, he's going to have to do it the hard way and build all the way around over here. But still, not the easiest position for Green. What can we do here? I feel like we need to find some sort of very impactful move, but where exactly is it? We could go here and start a new city for 6 points and then maybe drop a farmer. This move makes a lot of sense. I don't mind this. It seems a bit counterintuitive slash weird slash unproductive to use a splitter tile as a monastery building tile, but it actually could work out quite nicely. Maybe a bit more high variance and more ambitious would have been to go over here and set up another monastery, but then you do get blocked there at high frequency, so I understand why he chose not to do that. Tom now has a variety of strong moves to mess with this meeple, though. I'm thinking of 3 candidate moves. Option 1, we go over here and we try to block this square. However, regardless of how we rotate the tile that we have in hand, Red is still going to have at least a few options to recover this meeple eventually. Option 2, we go over here, we start a new city, which is not that easy to block. We can try and get some sort of 2 city caps to complete it soon, whilst also pressuring this here square. And option 3 is what Nicedicer just did, leaving himself the opportunity to develop this here city slash ruin at the bottom, and to just pick up this here city later. Now, Petro finishes a 6-point road, which was very, very nicely set up by him earlier, and now he has the meeples to fight for the field. The one thing that he doesn't have is the farmers, is the field platforms to fight for the field, because regardless of where you go right now, you're going to get blocked. Ideally, you want to go here and drop a farmer, but then you just get blocked on this square instantly. I say ideally because there's a secondary farm brewing if you finish your city. There's actually some chances of sneaking to the farm all the way outside through here. But again, way too risky, and that's why Red decides to use his curve to restrict this here meeple of Nicedicer. It's not a complete restriction. There's still 2 Dorito tiles that fit into this square. The idea, of course, is to permanently block this later. So let's say we get a road Dorito ourselves. Then our opponent gets something like, I don't know, a vanilla city cap and they can't do nothing. And then we get a curve, we block this square, and we even drop a farmer, and then we connect through the straight line. So this curve is basically setting up an ideal 3-move sequence to both block his opponent's meeple and to the farm. And that's why the counter of Nicedicer is absolutely brilliant here, if you ask me. This move seemingly does nothing, but actually it does a whole lot of something. First of all, it's instantly restrict the square to only field Doritos as opposed to road Doritos. And second, it creates the chance to score 4 points for this here city cap. And creates a platform for blocking. Phoam decides to create a platform for blocking regardless. He also just lost this meeple for a 5-point showdown, although I really don't blame him for that. It had some upside. And now Red needs to make a tricky decision. And there's one constant move available here, which I kind of want him to make. I don't know if it's correct or not. But basically, this is a super sensitive situation, right? Because either... imagine if one side draws a curve. Whoa! I did not see that. This is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. I like it so much. Oh, it ends up kind of not working as Nicedicer finishes his city. But no, I like it. I like it a lot. The idea, of course, is to drop a farmer and to set up an 8-point city for himself. That is a lot of fun. Now, Red is behind on the scoreboard, but Red is still doing okay. Well, not anymore, as Nicedicer managed to draw both of the tiles that fit into the square. Oh, this has gotta sting. This has gotta sting for the Portuguese player. Alrighty. This move from Phoam, by the way, is super nice. It basically prevents green from dropping equalizing farmers over here with many tiles. And what does green do here? Other than just simply rejoice that red has like way too many block meeples. Yeah, this move is nice. This move is very nice. As nice as the first part of Tom's screen name. It just gets a point for the city without committing to anything, and it still preserves technically an outside chance of completing it. Like, there's a dagger. They are obviously still city caps. Phoam, I think, is being a bit too impatient here. I did not like this move one bit. Because if you're the Portuguese player here, like, you have to realize that equalizing the field is not enough. You also have to score in order to win. And I think, just giving away so many points to complete the field connection, which can still be completed later, is just a little bit too much. He's still -3 on the scoreboard, and make this -11 as an 8-point city is being completed by Tom. And now a lot of good things need to happen for Pedro, and these 3 points are certainly one of them. Yeah, how is he gonna win this as Nicedicer gets himself a 6-point farmer, and he even sets up a move like this, by the way, which now is not gonna work, of course. So from Pedro's perspective, first of all, we just score, and then we try and set up some platforms to attack the farm, a little bit like And of course, we try to draw ourselves the last Dorito to score here a little bit, get a meeple back. And depends on when we draw it, we can either meeple this resulting 5-point ruin, 6-point ruin actually, or not. Yeah. So where do we score 2 points? Obviously, we cannot score 3 points here because we cannot let our opponent's farmer into the field. I'm not quite seeing any ideas here. We don't go here because this creates some outside chances of our opponent actually sneaking into the field that way. On the other hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, never mind. There are no straight lines, right? So this whole idea of this invasion just does not work. Yeah, I don't see how we can score quick points and at the same time make the board more favorable for farmers. Okay, here's how we can win. We just score 2 points in a random place. Let's say here. Just to make the field of our opponent a little bit shorter. And then we take something like a curve, we go over here, we spend our last meeple on a farmer. Then we get the road Dorito. And then we invade with our farmer over here, we get the majority on an 8-point field, which I think should be enough to win, because we still have a lot of points for these here features. Then we get this here meeple back, and this last meeple allows us to score some more. So I wonder if Pedro is thinking about dropping this monastery here. No! How can... No, Pedro! Like, no, in this position when you're down on the scoreboard, we cannot afford to be sacrificing points. Why? Why? Like, our opponent is just going to outrun us. I see what he's doing, okay? I see what he's doing. He's kind of like, he's setting up a potential fields connection through the dagger, whatever. But like, he can do that later. Oh, never mind. There's no dagger anyway. So it looked like he was blocking the farm, which is not what he really wants to do. He wants to be opening the farm. He's still down 10 points on the scoreboard, and I'm really shocked to see this. Right, actually I think we should count up the points at some point. Actually, it's quite easy. So Phoam has 23 on the board, so he has plus 13. As a result of these here 4 features, Nicedicer has 6 over here, and then has a lot over here. So actually Nicedicer is ahead plus 4. Which means that every point does count. And you know what? If we just score 2 points elsewhere, from Phoam's perspective, then I think there are some scenarios how we can win this without the field. Namely, if we draw the Dorito and we score the 6 point for the ruin because the Dorito has a shield. No! Pedro! That's a loss. That's just a loss. Like, how can we... Okay, am I hallucinating, right? The farm is equal right now, right? This farm is equal. This here green guy has absolutely no way of entering the main field. So why are we bothering with our last meeple to attack this here farmer? For example, with our last meeple, what we could have done, we could have attacked this here big ruin, for example, which is worth 10 points, and it would have even sort of kind of worked. Well, not really, we would have gotten blocked, but at the very least, like, it was trying for something. I really have no idea what Pedro is trying to do here, but it seems to me like Pedro was protecting the field. Like, does he think that he's ahead on the field? But what am I missing? Yeah, and look at Nicedicer. That's such a nice move. He's basically anticipating. He's dropping a 3-point farmer, which already is worth something, but he's anticipating red drawing this here Dorito tile, which means that all the farmers are going to be connected. And, well, at the very least, Nicedicer is going to get himself some scoring towards the end. He's probably going to go over here for 3 points. Phoam does have the Dorito in hand, and now he cannot even go here. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Which also makes me think, even with this tile, if he were to just gamble with his last meeple, I think this would have totally worked. But whatevs. Okay, why would he do that? Why would he give away the farm? Maybe because he realized, okay, he's saying OMG, so he didn't see that. I think he didn't see that Nicedicer. He accidentally let his opponent to win the big farm. Like, he would have lost anyway, but I think there were some spatial vision issues there. Yeah, Nicedicer saying, didn't you see my backdoor farmer? Yeah, he's saying that last move was something else. But it wasn't just about that last move, right? The last move was only minus 17. So he would have still lost by like 10 points. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, maybe, you're right in the chat, Crafty, that maybe this year green farmer was forgotten by red, because red was playing around the field as if he was ahead in the field, like sacrificing points to protect it. And this makes me think again, yeah, green should be illegal, which it is at the in-person World Championship. And as a result, we're having ourselves a very short match where the Belgian expert defeats his Portuguese counterpart. Now they're going to exchange some pleasantries in the chat, and with that we're concluding our weekend of Carcassonne. Let's just look at what they have to say to each other. Alright, let's see what Pedro has to say in his defense. Pedro is not eliminated, by the way. He gets relegated to the loser's bracket. And Tom is going to continue against... I don't remember who. We're going to see the pairings soon enough. I'm going to show them to you before wrapping up the stream. But I'm always curious to stay around for these here post-mortem analyses. Phoam is saying, being upset about playing such a bad move. It's whatever. It happens. Sometimes it happens to everybody. But still, like, one thing about Pedro's game here is not so much about the moves played on the board. It's more about time management. I feel like if you have a difficult position, you don't have a good justification of having 3.5 minutes on the clock. Like, 3.5 minutes in a position like this is an eternity. And there was probably something that red could have done to increase his chances. With this particular tile run out, maybe not so much. Actually, no, I think there was an opportunity. Okay. Anyway, I think there was an opportunity. So option, like, first we just use this monastery for scoring. So we have 2 more, right? We have 2 more, so that's what? Minus 27, that's minus 25. Then obviously, we don't give the 17 points to our opponent. But let's talk about this a little bit later. So what's the next thing that we're gonna do? Actually, it's pretty easy. With this move, we literally do anything else. We don't spend our last meeple. And with this here tile, which we drew, we could have gone just here. Oh, no, we could not have. It doesn't work. It does not work. It does not work. So the only, I guess, winning path for phoam was to draw this city cap, because this city cap was the only bit that fit into this square. And then red could have dropped a farmer, same way as green did. But now let's try to think about this differently. So let's say if red, with this here monastery, with 9 tiles remaining, gambles everything on the farm and goes here instead. This means that red probably has to sacrifice a few quick points. But then red does get 18 more for conquering the field. And, well, 18 more for not giving away the field to his opponent. Okay, let me think about this. He would have had plus 11, plus 6. Yeah, actually, I think maybe it was a completely decent shot to take this monastery with 9 tiles remaining, drop a farmer over here. The one issue that I do see with it is that this farmer had actually a chance to make it all the way to the field by going here through that area. But maybe with these here tiles that phoam drew, he could have prevented that. Like going over here and then here. Yeah, maybe. Maybe that was a way to go. It's very difficult to commit to something like this, but the more I think about it, knowing all the tiles remaining, which is also a big piece of information, I think that the best shot was to probably sacrifice the farmer, the last meeple, already this early on. And even that gives us a less than 50% chance to win, because there are some scenarios where our opponent uses this area to connect. So, for example, if Nicedicer gets this sausage, which he did, and goes over here and drops a farmer like this, and then gets the vanilla city cap to equalize the field after all. But then if that happens, phoam can get the Dorito early enough so that he can have some time to attack the farm from somewhere here. It gets complicated. It gets real complicated real quick. But at the very least would have been a chance for red. Anyway. Hi, phoam. Yes, this explains all your moves, basically. Pedro was saying, I spent the entire last game thinking I had meeple majority on the big field. Let me guess. The one farmer which you missed was this here little guy, little green guy over here, hidden here in the middle. Is that correct? Oh, I see. Okay, then I can see why you would get upset with this Dorito, because now in this game, this mistake was not game decisive, but with the field majority, oh, that would have stung so much harder. Anyway, yeah, now I can understand these moves, and of course, if red were to have the meeple majority, then doing stuff like this, which block off the field, well, yeah, that is correct, but this just wasn't what happened. All right, let me just read more chat a little bit. Exactly, Govier, in a difficult position. We think hard and then gamble somewhere. And thinking hard includes spending the 3.5 minutes that we still have. Also, very nice psychological explanation, Crafty, that like if you think that you were waiting for that Dorito the whole game, then you kind of your first thought is always to put it there no matter what. Alrighty, well, I think we've talked enough about this here position. Let's just have a look at the standings now. So what are we having? Qualification 3. Now earlier today, Smile won against the Alchemist, so Nicedicer is going to have a very difficult challenge against Smile not so much because of the quality of the play. I mean, of course, Smile is a master and everything, but his truly exceptional strength is in his clock skills. One of the, well, I think the fastest player in Ukraine, so the fastest player in one of the fastest teams that exist in the international scene. And yes, I think Tom is going to have a very tough time on the clock. If he can manage to pick up some good tiles and make some good moves, then of course he will be doing just fine, but that's going to be somewhat a challenge. And how's Pedro? Where's Pedro going to be? I think Pedro is going to go to the losers bracket, and he's going to play against Horacio the Alchemist. Horacio Mastandrea from Uruguay in the lower bracket. Again, reminder that this is a double elimination system, so if you lose, you don't get out of the tournament just yet, but if you lose twice, then it is go home time. Alrighty. As for plans for the future, tomorrow I really want to have a Carcassonne free day. Unfortunately, there are just no matches. I think we had way more today than we should have. And in case you haven't seen them, well, you're going to have something to watch during the remainder of the week anyway. And the matches for round 2 are going to be scheduled a little bit later over the course of the week, so stay tuned. At this stage, like in November, December, notification for most broadcasts are going to be at a short notice because the matches are scheduled at a short notice. So the best way to stay tuned is to subscribe to this here channel and click the bell notification icon. And of course, click all the good buttons. Meeple the like button in particular for the algorithm. That is important and incredibly helpful. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.